cloudburst has been severe in several locations. Water levels of the Alaknanda and Mandakini rivers at their confluence are continuously rising. Badrinath highway between Srinagar and Nandpragay has been completely submerged by the Alaknanda river, leading to a total blockage of the road. On August 5th, 2025, a catastrophic cloudburst triggered massive flash flood and landslides in the Chamoli village of Uttarakhand in Uttarakhand. Nearly half of the village was submerged in a mudslide which was caused by heavy rains and flash floods. At least 4 people lost their lives and more than 50 people are still said to be missing after homes and infrastructure was swept away. And the modern days are now being joined live by Air Vice Marshal JP Sharma from Noida. He is the President of Meteorological and Climate Change at Skynet Weather. Thank you so much for joining us, sir. Sir, let me begin by saying now that we're seeing a lot more reports of cloudbursts, is this actually becoming more common, and if so, what is driving this trend?
Yeah, thank you. Yes, last August, video showed 6th of August, we just mentioned that the cloudburst was there on film, affecting that Raleigh region. And they had fresh incidents last night, both in the Tadao Hills as well as the Tadao Hills. Yes, this season the incidents of cloudbursts, they have been a little more than the average, more than the normal. All 3 pockets, all 3 mountainous states, including Jammu Kashmir, Himachal and Uttarakhand. They have been affected with increased number of cloudbursts, and particularly the state of Uttarakhand being very fragile as compared to the other 2. Though all 3 they are the youngest Himalayan ranges, as such they are the youngest ones. Okay. And in fact Uttarakhand being the most fragile, it gets affected largely and more affected. See, incidents have increased. There are various reasons for that. We are in the thick of the monsoon season, okay, and every monsoon season is not same activity-wise. It could be little up and down. Number of systems, various systems which move across our country, in the mountains, in the plains. Obviously, they are responsible for causing this extreme weather incidents. Okay. So number of systems are more, western disturbances which are moving across the mountain. They are there's a trail of them, one on the other they are lined up. Even the mountain systems which are there in the Bay of Bengal, sequence of them, one after the other, one system finishes its track from there over Rajasthan. It's a tail on the other side in the Bay of Bengal, initiates another particular system. So that's how increased number of these systems, more than the average number of systems that the system have become responsible for this weather activity, and it remains more so on the mountain because terrain is very different and difficult. Degree of difficulty of forecasting weather in the terrain which is there in the mountain, right, that is much more.
Absolutely,
okay, so
Mr.
all
Sharma,
this is leading to, yeah.
Right, and before we go forward, let's also break it down for our viewers who might not be familiar. What exactly is a cloudburst?
See, the cloudburst, in the simple words, if you want to say, it is a very high rate of precipitation and in a localized area. Normally we say that rate should be about, say, at least about 100 millimeter of rainfall in about an hour. At this rate, when the rainfall is there, it leads to cloudbursts. Okay, but this is a rough estimate. There could be 100 millimeter rainfall even in half an hour also. Okay, and there are incidents of this nature. Means extremely heavy rainfall in a localized area. Localized area, when I say, within an area of say about 15, 20, 25 kilometers, that heavy downpour that is there. And if the terrain is difficult, if the terrain is uneven, the slopes of the mountains are there, and if the proximity of say some water bodies, the rivers, the nalas, or some stream or some lakes, it aggravates further. So what a cloudburst is, very high intensity rainfall in a localized area is what is termed as a cloudburst. These are tall clouds, which we call it as a CB cloud, cumulonimbus clouds, which reach at the height of say even 11, 12, 13 kilometers in height, okay, exceeding the protocols also. So this is what leads to cloudburst, and this in simple term I can say this is what is cloudburst. Yeah.
Now that we've gotten that out of the way, Mr. Sharma, we often hear that climate extremes are becoming the new normal now. What does that really mean, and how is it playing out right now?
See, we all know that there is a little change in the weather pattern over a period of time. Even as far as the seasons are concerned, we see the winters are starting late and extending into almost the spring season, which earlier we used to have, but differently. Similarly, the monsoon season, normally we used to have earlier between June and September. Many a time we have seen it extending also. The withdrawal dates are extending from more parts, including over mountains, including over the northern parts. From the country as such, the withdrawal is getting late and late. Means the duration of the season also monsoon. Sometimes it starts late, but it is more than the normal. It's normally earlier it used to take about 4 months. So there is a change in the weather pattern, be it any season. So that is what is leading to this abnormality. Now you mentioned about climate change. It's a known fact. Okay, climate change is there, global warming is there, and that is what is escalating these different high impact weather events also. Any increase in the temperature, okay, even 1 degree rise of temperature will increase the potential of these clouds, which I just mentioned, to carry 3 times of more moisture in that column. Okay, just imagine, and if it is carrying that much of a water, what it is going to do? In the clouds, water, it updrafts, the water is taken on the higher levels, means it freezes, it cools down. We call it as a super cooled cells from the storm. So the higher it goes, the more is the cooling, and more is the quantum of water, more is the volume of water, and ultimately it gets totally saturated.
A day after a massive 8.8 magnitude earthquake struck Russia's Kamchatka Peninsula, millions across the globe have heaved a sigh of relief as the tsunami warnings were lifted. Take a look at some of these stunning moments that were captured in the aftermath of the powerful earthquake.
I will mention again, the difficulty of the terrain adds to the dimension, it adds another dimension, and that is what is happening in the mountain. The other day it was in Himachal, it was there earlier in Jammu Kashmir also, and last night Uttarakhand state has been under the grip of both Kumaon Hills as well as the Garhwal Hills. Simultaneously, both had the cloudburst. Fortunately, the Garhwal side, the Rozo-Prayag and that Badrinath area, there's no loss of life as such. But then this part, that is the Kumaon Hills, the Chamoli Cloudburst, which have definitely, I think, claimed some lives also. One person. Yeah, that's it.
Absolutely, Mr. Sharma. And can you also touch upon the concerns over the rampant construction activities in the Himalayan state, which is making the region more vulnerable to devastation, and what could be done to curb that?
The breaking news at this hour comes from Russia.
Yeah.
Another massive
Many
earthquake
times,
has struck Russia's far east region, triggering a tsunami warning for the Russian
it's a
coastline.
natural disaster.
According to the
which is
United States
uncontrolled.
Geological
Weather
Survey, a
activity anywhere is
7.4 magnitude
uncontrolled, and
earthquake
that is
struck
what
off
is
the coast of
leading to all
Kamchatka.
these
The quake
unfortunate
hits 111
incidents,
kilometers
just
east of the Russian city
more
of
and more lives in and again.
Pavlovsk,
Repeated.
Kamchatsky.
Okay. But I
It is the
will
administrative
say
center of
it
the
is not
Kamchatka
totally,
region. The epicenter
natural
was at a
calamities.
depth of
It is a man-made
39.5
disaster
kilometers.
also.
The
Okay.
Pacific Tsunami Warning
What we are
Center said
doing
hazardous
is,
waves were possible along Russian
number of
coasts
things
within 300
they
kilometers of the
simultaneously,
epicenter. Back in
they
July,
are
the same
taking
region
place.
was struck by
But,
one of the strongest
the
earthquakes ever
unplanned
recorded, the
activity which you
magnitude
mentioned,
8.8
yeah,
quake
there
that
is
struck off
a
the Kamchatka Peninsula,
uncontrolled,
triggering tsunamis
construction
up to
of,
4 meters high
the
across the
big
Pacific,
projects,
sparking evacuations
be
from
it,
Hawaii
you are
to Japan.
tampering with the
Tsunami
slopes,
warnings were
mountain
also
slopes,
issued
which,
across
as
the
I
region
said,
before being
are
rescinded
fragile.
or
You
downgraded.
unplanned activity also. There is hardly any risk
This is breaking
assessment
from
being carried out
Russia,
before you undertake
and
that.
another
It's very
massive
important.
earthquake
Tell
has
me,
struck Russia's
why
far
can't you
east
carry out the
region,
risk assessment
triggering
and
a
take
tsunami
cognizance of
warning
that?
for the Russian
Sometimes the risk
coastline.
assessment is done, but
According
it's
to the
not
United
taken
States
cognizance
Geological
of.
Survey,
Okay.
a 7.4 magnitude earthquake struck
What I
off
say is
the coast of
unplanned construction.
Kamchatka.
That definitely,
It is
that
the
is
administrative
there.
center of the
Also,
Kamchatka region.
in the
The
hills,
epicenter was
and
at
for
a
that
depth
matter,
of
anywhere, land
39.5 kilometers.
reclamation.
The
Earlier,
Pacific
we used to
Tsunami
be
Warning
wherever the
Center
wetlands were
says
there.
hazardous
Be it on account of
waves
some
are
lakes,
possible
be it
along
on account
Russian
of some
coasts within
some
300
streams or
kilometers of the
chota nalas,
epicenter.
small,
Back in July,
these
the same
rivulets,
region was
it is
struck by
being
one of the
reclaimed.
strongest earthquakes
And,
ever
and
recorded. The
we are
magnitude 8.8
constructing over
quake
those
had
areas.
struck off the
Mind you,
Kamchatka
they
Peninsula,
have got a
triggering
strong
tsunami
memory. Any river,
up to
any
4
stream,
meters
any
high
nala,
across the
it
Pacific
will
and sparking
revisit its
evacuations
path.
from Hawaii
And once
to
it
Japan.
happens through these means, when the cloudburst or excess amount of water is there, and that is how they inundate that area. There's nothing. It is not a rocket science which I am telling. It is bound to happen. But we are ignoring all the aspects of what we have to do. Construction, unplanned construction, also, once it happens, we are not people from that. Two things to be done straight away. Firstly, we have to take these events more carefully. Well, the coordination platform increased from 47 there. Sufficient resources to government, at least to the people. People have to be aware about this.
The earthquake in Russia had a different fault plan or mechanism that did not generate a large enough of vertical seafloor displacement. Therefore, the resulting tsunami did not have enough of a large enough amplitude as expected originally.
If you remains within the community, within the administration, it's about dissemination of information at the reach to the public so that the evasive action can be taken as a result. Planning is very important. Planning is very important. Disaster has catastrophic the data, we still have some time on hand to react to that. If the people are sleeping at that point of time, we can be very difficult. So all these things have to come together. Administration, people, academia, science behind these things, they all come together, hold hands of each other and arrive.
Absolutely, sir. Those are very valid points. Thank you so much for joining us in the broadcast and sharing the valuable insights.
Thank you.
Remained into the Uttarakhand Cloudburst incidents have been reported in Nandanagar, Chamoli and Nandanagar districts last night. This is the second cloudburst to hit Uttarakhand this week after flash floods and landslides hit Dharali village of Uttarakhand on August 5th, resulting in multiple casualties. The cloudburst incidents in the Garhwal region of the state have triggered flash floods, collapsing houses and bridges, leaving families trapped and livestock buried. Many people are reported to be missing in Chamoli district. Taking stock of the situation, Uttarakhand Chief Minister Pushkar Singh Dhami said debris flow after the cloudburst has blocked areas, leaving residents stranded. He also said that currently the rescue efforts are underway on War Hill. In Tehri Garhwal district of Uttarakhand, a cloudburst incident took place in Yenwali, Bilanga area last night. There has been no loss of life reported till now, but damage to public and private property. As for Rudraprayag district, the impact of the cloudburst has been severe in several locations. Water levels of the Alkananda and Mandikini rivers at their confluence are continuously rising. The Badrinath highway between Srinagar and Rudraprayag has been completely submerged by the river, by the Alkananda river, leading to a total blockage of the route. On August 5th, 2025, a catastrophic cloudburst triggered massive flash floods and landslides in Dharali village of Uttarakhand in Uttarakhand. Nearly half of the village was submerged in a mudslide caused by heavy rains and flash floods. At least 4 people lost their lives and more than 50 people are still said to be missing after homes and infrastructure was swept.
State of Uttarakhand, cloudburst incidents have been reported in Nandpragay, Chamoli and Garhwal districts last night. Now notably, this is the second cloudburst to hit Uttarakhand this week after flash floods and landslides hit Tharali village of Uttarkashi on August 5th, resulting in multiple casualties. While the cloudburst incident in the Garhwal region of the state have triggered flash floods, collapsing houses and bridges, leaving families trapped and livestock buried. At least 2 people are reported to be missing in Chamoli district. Now, taking stock of the situation, Uttarakhand Chief Minister Pushkar Singh Dhami said that debris flew after the cloudburst has blocked areas, leaving residents stranded, and that rescue efforts are underway on war footing. In Garhwal district of Uttarakhand, a cloudburst incident took place in Genwali, Bilangana area last night. There has been no loss of life reported till now, but damage to public and private property has been reported. Now, as per Rudraprayag district, the impact of the cloudburst has been severe in several locations. Water levels of the Alaknanda and Mandakini rivers at their confluence are continuously rising. The Badrinath highway between Srinagar and Rudraprayag has been completely submerged by the Nandanagar, leading to a total blockage of the road. On August 5th, 2025, a catastrophic cloudburst triggered massive flash floods and landslides in the Tharali village of Uttarkashi in Uttarakhand. Nearly half of the village was submerged in a mudslide which was caused by heavy rains and flash floods. At least 4 people lost their lives and more than 50 people are still settled. Infrastructure was swept away.
A day after a massive 8.8 magnitude earthquake struck Russia's Kamchatka Peninsula, millions across the globe have heaved a sigh of relief as the tsunami warnings were lifted. Take a look at some of these stunning moments that were captured in the aftermath
Meteorology
of the
and
powerful
Climate Change
earthquake.
at SkyMet Weather. Thank you so much for joining us, sir. So let me begin by saying now that we're seeing a lot more reports of cloudburst, is this actually becoming more common, and if so, what is driving this trend?
Yeah, thank you. Yes, last hours on your show, 6th of August, you just mentioned that the cloudbursts were there on 5th, affecting that Raleigh region. And there have been fresh incidents last night, both in the Kumaon Hills as well as the Garhwal Hills. Yes, this season, the incidents of cloudbursts, they have been a little more than the average, more than the normal. All 3 provinces, all 3 mountainous states, including Jammu Kashmir, Himachal, and Uttarakhand. They have been affected with increased number of cloudbursts, and particularly the state of Uttarakhand being very fragile as
The breaking
compared to
news
the
of
other
this hour
2.
comes from
Though
Russia.
all
Another
3,
massive
they are the
earthquake has
youngest
struck
Himalayan
Russia's far
ranges. As
east
such,
region,
they are the youngest
triggering a
ones.
tsunami warning for the
And
Russian
Uttarakhand,
coastline.
being
According to
most
the United
fragile,
States
it
Geological
gets
Survey, a
affected
7.4
largely
magnitude earthquake
and
struck off
more
the coast of Kamchatka.
affected.
The quake hit 111 kilometers east of the Russian city of
Incidents
Petrov,
have increased. There are various reasons for that.
Kamchatsky.
We are in the thick
It
of
is
the
the
monsoon
administrative
season.
center of the Kamchatka
And every
region.
monsoon
The
season
epicenter
is
was at the
not
depth of
same
39.5 kilometers.
activity-wise.
The Pacific
It
Tsunami
could be
Warning
little
Center
up and
said
down.
hazardous
Number of
waves were
systems,
possible along
weather
Russian
systems
coasts
which move
within
across
300
our
kilometers of the
country, in the
epicenter.
mountains,
Back
in
in
the
July,
plains.
the same
Obviously,
region
they
was
are
struck by
responsible
one of the
for
strongest
causing this,
earthquakes ever
extreme
recorded,
weather,
the magnitude
incidents.
8.8
Okay.
quake
So
that
number of
struck off
systems
the
are moved.
Kamchatka
There's
Peninsula,
disturbances which are
triggering
moving
tsunamis
across
up
the
to
mountains.
4 meters
They are,
high
there's a
across
trail
the
of them,
Pacific
one
and
after the
sparking
other, they are
evacuations
lined
from
up.
Hawaii
Even
to
the monsoon
Japan.
systems
Tsunami
which are
warnings
there
were
in
also
the Bay of
issued across
Bengal,
the region before being
sequence of them,
rescinded
one after the other,
or
one
downgraded.
system finishes its track somewhere over Rajasthan. It's a tail.
This
from
is
the other
breaking
side,
from
the Bay of
Russia,
Bengal initiates
and another massive
central
earthquake
system.
has struck
So that's all.
Russia's far
Increased
east
number of
region,
these systems,
triggering a
more than
tsunami
the
warning
average
for
number
the
of
Russian
systems,
coastline.
weather systems have
According to the United
become
States Geological
responsible for
Survey,
this
a
weather
7.4
activity,
magnitude
and it,
earthquake struck off
remains
the coast of
more
Kamchatka.
so in the
It is
mountains
the
because
administrative center of the
terrain is
Kamchatka
very
region.
different
The
and
epicenter was
difficult.
at a depth of
Degree of difficulty
39.5
of,
kilometers. The
forecasting
Pacific
weather
Tsunami
in that
Warning
terrain,
Center
which is
says
there in the mountain,
hazardous
that is
waves
much,
are
much,
possible
much
along
Absolutely,
Russian
Mr.
coasts
Sharma,
within
and-
300 kilometers of the
Right, and
epicenter.
before we go forward,
Back
let's
in
also
July,
break it
the
down for
same
viewers who
region
might
was
not be
struck by
familiar.
one of
What
the strongest
exactly is a
earthquakes ever
cloudburst?
recorded. The magnitude 8.8 quake
See, the
had struck off
cloudburst,
the
in the simple
Kamchatka
words,
Peninsula,
if you want to say,
triggering tsunami
it is a very high rate of
up to 4
precipitation
meters high
and in a
across the
localized
Pacific
area.
and sparking evacuations from
Normally, we
Hawaii
say that
to
rate should be
Japan.
about, say, at least about 100 millimeter of rainfall in about an hour. At this rate, when the rainfall is there, it leads to cloudbursts. Okay, but this is a rough estimate. There could be 100 millimeter rainfall in an hour also. Okay, and there are experts of this means extreme heavy rainfall in a localized area. Localized area means in the area of say about 25 kilometers or 40 kilometers. And if the terrain is difficult, if the terrain is uneven, the slopes of the mountains are there, proximity of say some waterfalls, the river, or some stream, or some lakes, it aggregates further. So, when cloudburst is very, very high intensity rainfall in a localized area,
The earthquake in Russia had a different fault plan or mechanism that did not generate a large enough of vertical seafloor displacement. Therefore, the resulting tsunami did not have enough of a large enough
Now that
amplitude
we've
as
gotten that out of
expected
the way,
originally.
Mr. Sharma, we often hear that climate extremes are becoming the new normal now. What does that really mean, and how is it playing out right now?
Actually, we all know that as far as the seasons are concerned, we see the winters are starting here and extending into almost the spring season, which we used to have differently. Similarly, the monsoon season, normally we used to have every year between June and September. Many a time we have seen it extending up, the polar dates are extending to the north, including over the mountains, including over the northern part. Then the country as such, the withdrawal is getting late and green. The duration of the season also monsoon, sometimes it's short more, but it is more than the normally we have to so there's a change in the weather pattern. Read any season, so that is leading to this abnormality. Now you mentioned about climate change, it's a known fact. Okay, climate change is there, global warming is there, and that is what is escalating these frequent high impact weather events also. Any increase in the temperature anywhere, okay, even 1 degree rise of temperature will increase the potential of these clouds which I just mentioned to carry 3 times of more moisture in that column. Okay, just imagine, and if it is carrying that much of the water, what it is going to do? In the clouds, water with the updrafts, the water is taken in the higher level, means it freezes, it cools down. We call it as a super cooled cells on the storm. So the higher it goes, the more is the cooling, and more is the quantum of water, more is the volume of water, and ultimately when it gets totally saturated, it has to drop. And that is what it comes in the ground, it falls through the mountain and the slopes, and that is what it leads to possible flooding also in some pockets, in some, particularly the terrain. I will mention again, the difficulty of the terrain adds to the dimension, it adds another dimension, and that is what is happening in the mountain. There was Himachal, it was there earlier in Jammu Kashmir also, and last night Uttarakhand state has been under the grip of both Kumaon Hills as well as the Garhwal Hills. Simultaneously, both had the cloudburst. Fortunately, the Garhwal side, the Nandpragay and the Nandanagar area, there's no loss of life as such. But then this part, the Kumaon Hills, the Chamoli Cloudburst, which are definitely, I think, in some lives also unfortunately. Yeah, that's it.
Absolutely, Mr. Sharma. And can you also touch upon the concerns over the rampant construction activities in the Himalayan state, which is making the region more vulnerable to devastation, and what could be done to curb that?
Yeah, many times, we take shelter and we say it's a natural disaster, which is uncontrolled. Weather activity anywhere is uncontrolled, and that is what is leading to all these unfortunate incidents which have been claiming more and more lives again and again, repeatedly. Okay. But I will say it is not only the natural calamities, it is a man-made disaster also. Okay, what we are doing is a number of things that they simultaneously they are taking place. But the unplanned activity which you mentioned, yeah, there is a uncontrolled construction of the big projects. Be it you are tempering with the slopes, mountain slopes, which, as I said, are fragile. You unplanned activity also. There is hardly any risk assessment being carried out before you undertake that. It's very important. There are means. Why can't you carry out the risk assessment and take cognizance of that? Sometimes the risk assessment is done, but it's not taken cognizance of. Okay. So, what I say is unplanned construction, that definitely, that is there. Also, in the hills, and for that matter, anywhere, land reclamation. Earlier, wherever the wetlands were there, be it on account of some lakes, be it on account of some streams or chota nalas, small, these rivulets, it is being reclaimed. and we are constructing over those areas. Mind you, they have got a strong memory. Any river, any stream, any nala, it will revisit its path.